But I think we're back. Um, you were talking about how hearing from somebody with experience, comes
Can
across better.
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was saying is, because some people like that, sometimes for great reasons, sometimes for not such great reasons. Some of the good reasons are, well, it makes sense that you'd want someone who understands how the system works because you need someone who's going to work against the system, who knows, what it's going to take to remove some of the power from some of those institutions, how to eventually put some of these institutions on the path to being sunsetted. That takes some, I got to be honest with you, that takes some real inside information. You really have to understand how the system works.
Hmm.
On the other hand, there are folks who want someone experienced because they like control. They
Hmm.
think, well, we need someone with experience to get in there because they'll know how to really use the system and control and
Right.
make the government bigger and better and work better. And oh my goodness, that's pretty scary. So it's not all good, right?
Yeah.
But to the extent to which people want someone with experience, and there are a lot of such people who believe that if you don't have public policy experience, public service experience, they won't listen to you. If that's the case, then let's give them two helpings, right?
Yeah.
Let's use that. That's a vehicle for getting our message out, and we need to take advantage of that. I remain a big believer in public service.
Yeah.
um, I have all kinds of respect for people who do want to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
We all know goofballs who have made a mistake and how they pursue that.
Mhm.
But that feeling of wanting to do right by your community brothers and sisters, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just you can't put yourself in a position, in a mindset where you believe that doing that means making decisions for somebody else.
Yeah. I don't think I've talked about Johnson this much in an episode in a very long time, but I'm gonna bring him up one
Me
more time.
neither, but it's an
Uh,
important lesson.
Yeah, because I think the actual best line that the campaign had ever was two-term Republican governors from Democratic states. That sales pitch was the number one thing that they had
Yeah,
because it provided it was multiple things that people were looking for in one sweet little sentence. Both they have experience, they have
yep.
experience enough to get reelected, and they have
Success.
experience, and then they have experience with working across the aisle
Yep.
and pulling people over from a different
All of which
party.
was true. I mean,
Yeah.
and those things were true and objectively true.
Mm-hmm.
Now we
Yeah.
can argue whether those are good things or bad things,
Yeah. I mean,
but they
fuck.
were, at the very least, they were true things.
Yeah, fuck Bill Weld, but like those are still true facts about him.
Exactly. I mean, it's also true that he was a lobbyist for the war machine, but
Right. And then
um, hey, everyone's
endorsed
got
Joe
to make a
Biden.
living, David. Everyone's got to make a living, okay, bud?
Right. I'll be honest with you. The moment I knew that the 2020 election was over and that Biden actually won was when I saw Bill Weld on my TV saying how much he was looking forward to a Biden presidency. Like I thought that there was a chance that something was going to get overturned here, some court was going to do something. Once I saw that slimy person on TV, like I knew that he
You
wouldn't show
love
his
Bill Weld.
face on TV and say those things if he wasn't 100% sure that it was set in stone. Like that was
Yeah, he
the
must have known something, huh?
oh man. So
Yeah,
what?
that's a strange bird. I did not fully buy into the idea that Biden was going to be president until the last votes were counted. I was
Yeah.
just you know, I mean, we knew fairly early on that it was going to have to be a Republican or a Democrat, right?
Mhm.
But man, you have to admit it is a weird thing when the United States of America, a nation of 330 some million people with a standard of living that is the envy of the world, with military prowess that is the envy, unfortunately, of the world. A nation this powerful, this developed, socially, culturally, economically, technologically. Say what you will negatively about our system. It is a weird, damn weird thing that the two guys that we have running against each other representing duopoly are Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Like, that is per se an indictment of our system.
Yeah. It should have been, and yet record number of people voted for those two morons. That's I really thought I loved what my favorite meme, again, I'm going to bring him up again. My favorite meme from 2016 is, why take the left nut or the right nut when you can have the Johnson?
Yeah.
Like the last two presidential cycles have been so extremely horrific candidates that I
The worst candidates ever.
I spent the whole time going, they have to wake up this time.
Yeah, the worst candidates ever. The last three politicians represented duopoly, Donald Trump twice, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, the three most unlikable, lowest polling politicians in the history of American political polling. Really an impressive race to the bottom. And I think it speaks to the utter inability of any of these politicians to attract from the other side. They both play to their bases and only to their bases. And of course, this is in a democracy where authoritarianism comes from. It comes from doing nothing but playing to your base and then convincing your base that what you have to fear is not the loss of your civil liberties, but the idea of that other schmuck coming to power. And therefore, you want to give me more power so I can prevent that from happening. That's where authoritarianism comes from in a democracy. And that is the direction that we are headed. As they used to say, slowly, then all at once. So I do worry that it's going to accelerate hard one of these moments, and we're going to have a hard time putting it back in the bottle.
Yeah. So one new thing that we're doing on the show is a question from the missus, because she thinks that my show is a little too boring.
You want me to get my wife up here?
Oh, no. My wife has been writing an interesting question for each show. So today...
Now, your wife, I happen to know, has her hands full. She is far too busy to be writing questions for your show, but go ahead anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Is it how to change a diaper or what temperature the baby bottle should be? I've raised two kids, but it's been a while since mine were that little.
Today it is, if you could learn any one question in the next 24 hours, what language would you learn and why?
What language would I learn?
Yep.
Oh, boy. That is really interesting. I'm shuffling through. I have spent time in China and lamented the fact that I did not speak the local language. I spent time in India and was very happy that so many people there speak English. I would want to communicate with the Russian people much more effectively than we can today, because I think that they need a wake-up slap in the face. They're getting one a little bit as things, leak over the transom, in contrast to Putin's attempts to filter out news about the war, for example. So I think Russian is a leading contender. Let me think about this a little bit more. I know. I think I need to learn how to speak Calvinism a little bit more so I can communicate with my cousins on the one side. I was raised half Lutheran, half Calvinist, and there's some knockdown, drag out fights there.
Yeah, that's an interesting combo.
Yeah, that's an interesting combo. I'm all about free will, though, brother.
Amen.
So I gotta go with Russian at the moment, like I say, to help deliver the slap in the face. But That's only because I'm more optimistic at the moment about being able to deliver that slap in the face in Russia than in China.
Hmm.
I do worry about China in the intermediate run over the next 5 and 10 and 15 years. I worry a great deal because their system sucks.
Yeah.
They are making bad decisions at a relatively rapid pace, but not necessarily the types of decisions that will topple their government.
Right.
Their government is doubling down on 20th century technology investments, for example. Really bad investments around the world, technologically, militarily, um, in terms of housing and the development at the local level. Really bad decisions. And so I think that economically they're in trouble. As you know, uh, your generation in China is a mess because of
Hmm.
the one-child policy and the relative absence of young females. That is going to play out in a really horrific fashion starting in the next few years. I worry about Chinese culture. I worry about the interplay between the government and the people as they eventually learn more about the world, notwithstanding Chinese Communist Party controlled government efforts to keep them from learning about the world. And I worry about how that will play out. I worry about a very dictatorial government cracking down.
Hmm.
And I worry about how that's going to play out on the international stage as well as domestically. I would not want to. I would not want to own a great deal of property in Taiwan today.
Fair. So that begs the question: if you were president, if you win this election, how would a libertarian president handle such things as like an extremely corrupt Chinese government and try to help the Chinese people without, carrying on the typical American imperialism?
Yeah. Well, you got to communicate, communicate, communicate. And I know that to a Chinese government official, that feels very much like American imperialism when you're sending your crappy capitalist ideas over here and
Mm-hmm.
filling our citizens' heads full of silly ideas like freedom. So we'd be accused of imperialism. But that's one really important element. The other important element is that you need to be crystal clear about your foreign policy. This idea of strategic ambiguity
Mm.
is for the birds. It really leads to bad situations like the primary one that I'm thinking, there's many examples, but the primary one that I'm thinking of is leading American company and companies from all over the world, leading them to believe that investing in Taiwan is a good idea because we're always going to be there to protect you. And then putting yourself in a situation where it has to become a self-fulfilling prophecy because now you've got strategic investments in Taiwan that you
Mm-hmm.
cannot afford to allow to fall into the hands of those who are controlled by the
Right.
Communist Party. So now you've got this silly, silly situation where the Biden administration is subsidizing the development of a chip industry in the United States
Hmm.
because of the screw ups in foreign policy and leading everyone to believe that developing that in Taiwan was a good idea instead. If he had just left the whole matter alone, if over the last 25 years, if we had just left the whole matter alone, we'd be in a much better position today where the Taiwanese economy would have developed a pace as it should have been just based on free market principles,
Mm-hmm.
just based on, you remember we used to, before your time, we used to call those four Southeast Asian nations, Thailand and Singapore and South Korea and Taiwan, we used to call those the four tigers because they released market forces and their economic development went through the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
That did not need strategic ambiguity from the White House to happen.
Right.
Strategic ambiguity just led people to believe that it was a good idea to make these strategic investments in Taiwan that were not a good idea. And now ties the hands of American diplomacy.
Mm.
So we have to start sending the signal that no, we will not send troops to Taiwan, in contrast to what Joe Biden has said.
Right.
We are out of that business. European nations, Taiwan, and other nations that want to believe that they don't have to defend themselves because we will do it, they need a wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the perfect wake-up call is for people to pay attention to the Fight for Liberty podcast and listen to David Fite's guests, several of which, but at least this one, is saying that we've got no business promising to back up Taiwan. That does not align with long-term strategic American interests, and neither does membership in NATO, to be honest with you. We should be out of NATO. We should be pulling back forward deployment of military power around the world, not only because it's a hell of a lot of money that we should be leaving in the pockets of Americans,
Right.
but nor is it ethical as far as how we treat our international neighbors. People around the world are ready for a new relationship with the American government too, not just Americans.
Yeah.
We are all ready for a new relationship with the American federal government, all of us.
Amen. So I don't want you to give away, too much of the inside knowledge, but what can you tell me about the plan for the campaign? How you guys are trying to reach out to groups that we haven't tapped yet? How you guys are bringing in volunteers? What's the game plan?
Hard work. There is no secret to politics. As much as politicians would like to lead you to believe, lead themselves to believe, and lead each other to believe, there's no real effective secret that lasts more than about an hour and 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The object of the game is to work very, very hard at getting your message out, to develop a message that will make your campaign memorable, well branded, well distinguished from the other parties or from the other competitors, to lead with a credible candidate, hopefully, as you and I have discussed, and have the right team in place.
Mm-hmm.
We're very proud of the team that we have already in place.
Yeah.
We're 15 months away from the nomination and the general election cycle, and we've already started putting people into positions of whom we are very, very proud.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about that a little bit before we went live. I'm friends with a chunk of your campaign staff, and they're amazing people. So
they are amazing people. The Gabby Cordovas of the world, the Dennis Consortes,
mm-hmm.
Keaton Brumley, my man Evan Murphy, he's the best. Michael Smith from Florida, Scott Nicholson from Florida. These folks are absolutely not just political forces, but true professionals
Mm-hmm.
that believe in the cause, believe in putting together the right kind of campaign, and want to see a campaign represent the party that leads with transformational ideas and backs it up with credibility. And that doesn't grow on trees. We have missed these opportunities in the past, as you and I have been discussing. So we need to take this very, very seriously.
Yeah. I think so far from what I've seen, you guys are doing a good job, especially at the, presenting a professional candidate and campaign. So I've said it a couple of times, but I'm excited to see what you guys can do. I'm excited to see some of these other campaigns. I'm good friends with and used to work with Chase Oliver. So, excited to see him.
Chase seems like a nice guy.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to get you guys on together at some point in time. I'm sure I'll do some sort of, candidate forum, but I
think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And do you know Jacob Hornberger? I like Jacob. I've gotten to know him a little bit because I moved to Virginia last year. Nice guy. I
honestly keep forgetting that he officially announced. I just found that out a few days ago, and I don't know him, but I would be happy to have him on. I was a fan of what he was doing in 2020. He was the reason I was able to pull as many people as I was from the Tulsi Gabbard campaign into the LP, because he was the loudest anti-war candidate left in the presidential race once she dropped out. Just across all parties, he was by far the best person to go to after her, and so big fan. Excited to see
I think
this.
that you might convince. I could help you convince those other two guys to come on. We could all three be on your show. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll have.
And we could call it "Fight About Liberty" instead of "Fight for Liberty."
There we go. Well, before we wrap up, I want you to give you an opportunity to tell people how to find out more about the show, or not the show, the candidacy and the race, and how they can get involved with your campaign.
Sure. I appreciate that. They can go to the website, MikeTerMaat.com. Of course, you'd have to spell it right, which is a bit of a challenge, MikeTermaat.com. You can email me at mike@MikeTerMaat.com. You can go to the website and sign up there. If you've got money in your pocket that really annoys you and you're just dying to get rid of it, there's a way to do that on the website. You can see our platform at goldnewdeal.org. I don't know if you and I talked about it, but the transformational platform that we're putting together, we call the Gold New Deal, kind of poking fun at the Green New Deal and overturning the original New Deal of FDR. So goldnewdeal.org is our website that's just for the platform, and that's kind of fun. That's worth a look. Even if you think the candidate is not worth a look, the platform is. So I encourage everyone to go to goldnewdeal.org. Don't go to goldnewdeal.com, because they'll try to sell you something, which is not necessarily a bad idea. I am certainly not suggesting that your audience doesn't buy gold. Maybe that's a good idea. But the platform's at goldnewdeal.org.
All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on. This was a fantastic show.
Oh, absolutely. My fun. We can do it anytime. Let's do it tomorrow.
Well, can't do it tomorrow. I do have another show. So, guys, thanks for watching. And if you come back tomorrow, we'll have Todd Hagopian, the national treasurer of the Libertarian Party, on to talk about what he's been up to since getting elected. But we'll definitely have to.
Todd is a great guy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone out there who can hear our voices should tune in for that show. Oh. This show is terrible. You have wasted your time with this show. That show is the one that you should be watching. Todd is a good guy.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've had him on a couple times, and I haven't had him on since he got elected, which has been way too long. So excited to have him on. That one is at a special time. It's going to be 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so a little bit later than normal.
Eastern Time.
So tune in.
It's kind of late, but they can click into it the next day if they want to. And by the way, ask Todd about the great stuff they have going on in Oklahoma. Not just at the national level. They're talking about doing some very creative things there. I was just at their convention. A great group of people, really focused on the ethics and fundamentals of libertarianism. You're in for a treat. You have a good guest.
Yeah, LP Oklahoma is one of my absolute favorite state affiliates. Todd and like Kevin Hobby and Rex Longhorn, and there's just so many fantastic people down in that state.
Yeah, it's a good group, a nice group of people.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mike, again, thank you so much for coming on, guys. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you back here next time, but until then,